Okay.
Greenhouse manager MAKENNA Hopwood opens a door to what she jokingly calls the meat locker.
This is all corn.
Bags of drying plants, both stalks and roots, hang from the ceiling like slabs of meat in a cooler. But of course, they're plants.
These have all been root washed and then processed, and then they've been drying for about a week. Depending on the crop, we'll dry them for about a week to 2 weeks, and then we'll throw them in the plant drying oven for a day or two, and then we'll do our biomass weights.
This is the final stop for plants raised in the SALK greenhouse. Hopwood is constantly growing several different plant species here.
Some plants don't really like to be watered from the top, and these ones are really sensitive, so if they have soil that gets tossed into the middle of the plant, they won't produce their flower, so we have to bottom water them. Or mist them very lightly, which just takes a really long time.
Some of these plants grow fast, seed to harvest in a few months. Others are crop plants like corn, soybeans, and wheat. Add in sorghum, rice, and canola, and that's most of the popular food crops grown in the world. Total plant acreage is about the size of India.
One of the biggest challenges, we think, and the biggest threat for humanity is the climate crisis.
Wolfgang Busch is looking for ways to make these widely used plants a lot better at moving carbon from the air and storing it deeper in the ground. He's using millions of dollars in grants to develop longer and deeper root systems. And they are the key to storing carbon that the burning of fossil fuels spews into the air.
And we're trying to find mechanisms, genetic recipes, if you want, so to actually make better plants or make plants better in storing larger amounts of carbon underground for longer in the soil.
Busch hopes to find the right combination of gene manipulation and breeding and the transfer of desirable traits from other plants to make those 6 crops better at carbon sequestration. Busch says they represent a short-term answer to a long-term problem.
And there are currently only actually no really scalable methods to draw down carbon dioxide except from plants. So if you think about this in the long run, this technology will enable a carbon drawdown that is really urgently needed to get back to carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere that are safe for us.
But the clock is ticking. The planet's average temperature continues to climb at dramatic rates. Busch says it'll still be about 5 years before he's likely to develop the plants that he's confident will help. It could be 15 years before enough of those plants are planted to make a difference.
I think we can, but we're really right on the edge.
SALK researcher JOANNE, who's been living with Parkinson's disease for 15 years, says temperatures are rising because people push more carbon dioxide into the air than what the planet can account for. She understands the urgency, but remains hopeful.
So you don't have to fix everything in the climate. You only have to get those 18 gigatons that the Earth can't deal with. And so that's a small part of what plants push around on a regular seasonal basis, right? They're pushing around more like 800 gigatons.
CHORY thinks plants can pull about 4 gigatons of that extra carbon out of the air and put it into the soil. Building out more renewable energy and making cars electric could help too. But those transitions will take time. CHORY thinks developing plants that can move the carbon out of the plant sugars and into non-biodegradable polymers buried deep in roots could buy some time until other solutions come along. MAKENNA Hopwood is spending that time in search of a scalable solution in the SALK greenhouse.
I'll take some wheat right here. It's been growing a little long. This is longer than preferred. And then you just take this guy, transplant it in, and you cover it with our calcined substrate. And there you go.
But success here and in the lab will have to be duplicated on a global scale. Researchers are confident the science will help them improve the plants, but they don't share that optimism about governments and farmers, who will have to implement the solution before the climate gets too warm. Erik Anderson, KPBS News.